Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Beer and Skittles podcast. Today, we have a wide variety of pop culture to talk about with you today. And the first thing on our agenda is going to be the newest Netflix movie, The Adam Project.
That's right. Um, this movie with Ryan Reynolds, Jennifer Gardner, Zoe Saldana has a role in this. Mark Ruffalo. I don't know the kid's name, the
Honestly,
actor.
neither do I, because I don't remember seeing him in things before, but he actually did a really great job. So I should know his name, and I'm looking it up right now. His name is Walker Scobell. And honestly, he did an amazing job in the role. For those of you guys that do not know what the Adam Project is, we both agree it's highly recommended to watch. Looking at the trailers and such going into it, you might think that's going to be some kind of cheesy action sci-fi movie angled more towards kids, but it's really not the case. I mean, the movie's about a time traveler. He goes back in time to stop some events, and he needs the help from his younger self to do it. Just with that storyline alone, you're thinking this is probably not a great movie. However, they do a great job with all of the on screen chemistry, as well as all the actors do great performances, and there's a lot of substance to this movie that I was not expecting to get. um, while it is a story about time travel and a man going into the past to try to correct the future, it really is more of a story about a man who, as a boy and even in his manhood, cannot cope with the loss of his own father. Um, and it really is the overarching theme of the whole movie. So there's a lot of substance to it. There's a lot of great performances by these actors. I mean, I was genuinely surprised by Ryan Reynolds, giving me a lot more substance than I've seen from him as of recent. The kid as well. I mean, I would have thought he actually was Ryan Reynolds when he was younger. I mean, it was a perfect portrayal. They seemed as if they were in sync as the same person. Mark Ruffalo, great job as playing the father. Jennifer Gardner did an amazing job playing their mother. She was completely believable. She had some great emotional scenes in there as well. Just, I think the cast did great all around.
To hit on some of those same notes, I do think, even just at the beginning, as soon as like Ryan Reynolds meets his younger self, um, I mean, you can just tell right away that they're playing the same character. Um, like he's a little shit, and like even the attitude that the older self is giving him, and um, their whole dynamic, even though they're the same person, was hilarious throughout. Um, Especially like he looks at it like, oh, when do I get big? Like, do you just hit the gym all the time? And then later on, it's like, when did you get dumb? Did I just trade my brains for muscle? Um, Great performances from everybody. Mark Ruffalo was amazing. Zoe Saldana had like her parts were so good. Just the chemistry between her and Reynolds. Um, I love Jennifer Gardner. She can make you cry and then kick ass all at the same time. So she's awesome. Uh, I think the other thing of them playing the same person, of like that scene when they're eating breakfast together, they ate the exact same way.
Yeah.
Every like movement, and it had to have been practiced. I can only imagine how many takes it took, but those little details of like them doing the same thing, or when like they turned around to tell the dog to shut up at the exact same time. It's like, yep, this is the same person.
Yeah, and I think the those two actually spent a lot of time together rehearsing for this because I follow Ryan Reynolds on TikTok, and he posted a TikTok, and it was the kid, and he was reciting the entire opening monologue from Deadpool. Meanwhile, if anybody's seen Deadpool, it's not a monologue that a kid should be saying, but he was saying it in Ryan Reynolds' voice all the way through, line for line, no skips. So I was like, oh, like they spent time together. They've been practicing. They're literally on the same page for, I guess, a lot of things. Um, again, I really believed that that could have been Ryan Reynolds um, when he
The
was
one
younger.
weird thing, like, and it's never explained. Did Ryan Reynolds dye his hair? Like not
Um,
literally him, but like did older Adam dye his hair?
Look, I don't know, man. He's older, sometimes people change. Look, we can't ask for perfection out of this. I mean, again, it's someone playing someone else. Uh I don't expect them to be exact copies of each other, but they still sold me with their performance, so, I'm not going to be too nitpicky about it. I really only have one true complaint about the movie. And it was the intro. Um I was really scared because I saw the previews for the movie actually. I think during the Super Bowls when I first saw the preview for the movie, and it looked great. And Ryan Reynolds, and I heard other people talking about it, and they're like, "This movie is amazing." And then I saw the hour 45 runtime. If anybody knows me, I usually think that a short movie is going to be a bad movie because usually that means things are rushed, pacing is off. You don't usually get to tell the story that you want. So I saw the hour 45 runtime, and I get into the movie, and the intro felt really rushed. I felt like I really just kind of jumped into everything, and it was like, God, I really hope this isn't what I'm going to get. However, it caught up with the pacing. It took the rest of the movie on really well, and I feel like I didn't miss anything of the story. So even with the hour 45 runtime, other than the first maybe 20 minutes,
And
if
I
that, I
think
think it did great.
I think part of that too is, yeah, you kind of jump right into this movie without like what is going on, but they do a good job of explaining it. And I think the reason it's not explained right away at the beginning is because it's a plot device. It's a plot point of like him and then explaining to his younger self of where did that come, who are you, where did you come from, and all of that. It comes later,
Yeah,
um,
it's definitely
and there's just no
gradual.
point in hitting on it twice.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely gradual as well because when Ryan Reynolds comes in, the only thing he doesn't tell the kid anything. He just is. It's classified. Like, are you in the Air
yeah,
Force? Do you not know what classified means? Like,
yeah,
and but then his younger self is able to wear him down and get answers out of him because he's him. He knows exactly what to say to himself. Um, but it was great. So yeah, they definitely caught up back on those points, and I think they really redeemed themselves from that first 15 minutes. Not that it's that big of a deal, but again, they just did a really great job with that pacing. Another thing that I would like to say is the fight scenes in that. Again, it's a cheesy sci-fi flick. I would think that some of the fight choreography would be cheesy, like you would get in sci-fi, where it's just kind of like long-range gun battles and lasers and whatnot. However, the fight choreography was amazing. Actually, it felt like it was straight out of like John Wick or like out of a Daredevil scene from the Netflix series. Like it was, I think, that great, the fight choreography on that. So whoever was the stunt doubles on there and whoever worked on the fight choreography, amazing job, because
I think it
it
was a
was all I
good
could ask
build to
for.
that too. Like building to that fight, like how many times did he go through his bags? Like, don't touch my stuff. What is that? Is that a
Yeah.
lightsaber? And like the build and payoff of the first like action sequence
Yeah, it was
was
definitely
good.
see a gun in Act One. It's gonna be used in Act Three type of deal.
Yeah.
Because throughout the entire time the kid's going through his bag and he's like, "Don't touch that." To stop,
Yep.
and like then you realize why he doesn't want him to touch it. It's like a grenade. He's like, "Is this a
Yeah.
lightsaber?" No. Just pulls it out. Dude, that's a lightsaber.
That's a lightsaber. I think it's also like you said, there's a lot of heart to the movie, and there's a lot of substance. Like it, yeah, it was a fun movie. It was sci-fi. It was action. The action was awesome, but you had like that scene where he's at the bar,
Talking to
older
his
Adam
mom.
with his
Yeah.
mom, and it was such a great scene. And Jennifer Gardner can sell you on an emotional scene. Like, if you go back and if you watch Love, Simon, or if anybody that's watching this watch that movie, like she has that scene with her son in that, and it's heartbreaking. Like and then even Peppermint, which is a total action flick, she lost her family, and you feel all of that emotion
Yeah.
because she's
And
just that good.
Ryan Reynolds fed off of it well. You can even see the
Yeah,
emotion in his eyes during the scene. I thought it was great. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little scared during the scene. I was like, please don't hit on your son. I was like, I know Ryan Reynolds, good looking guy. Don't don't do
you
it.
know, because it's a comedy, it's part comedy. I almost thought there was gonna be that like Back to the
Yeah.
Future like moment, and I was like, oh god, please tell me that's not where this is going, and it didn't, and which thank god. But uh still a great, and like you could tell that she put it together. She's like, wait a minute, and then goes chase after him. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I really don't have any too many, or at least too many complaints about the movie. Highly recommend watching it. Easy to watch. It's right on Netflix. It's part of their whole campaign right now to be pushing out a new thing every single week. I'm pretty sure that was the start of it. That was week one, their first project, and it did not disappoint. I mean, Netflix has been pretty on point when it comes to producing their own shows and movies and stuff. So, um,
Yeah, and I
again,
think it's
amazing.
also goes to like looking into the director, which I did after the fact. Um, which I know Sean Levy directed this, and I knew he was the director of Free Guy, which I had watched recently too, which I thought was a good movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. Um, and his name has popped up recently as well because he's rumored to be directing Deadpool 3
Yeah,
for the
and
MCU.
they are two for two right now. Ryan Reynolds and him, they're two for two, hitting on all cylinders right now. So I would love to see him direct Deadpool 3. I know we talked before we started recording, saying that he's mostly a comedy director, which Deadpool is comedy. However, this is going to be a lot more action oriented. The jokes, because you said he did Cheaper by the Dozen, right?
He's yep, the Pink Panther, Night at the Museum,
Yeah,
um,
so a lot of
the
more
internship.
family oriented comedy. So it'll be cool to see him step out of that realm a little bit and take on the more adult comedy, especially on the level that Deadpool takes it, and then also intertwining it with the action, which I think he can pull off because, like I said, the fight choreography was great on Adam Project. So
And even, looking at if we went from the last director of Deadpool 2, who was a co-director on John Wick and then had directed Atomic Blonde, um, and he's directing that new movie Bullet Train with Brad Pitt,
yeah,
which looks
which looks
good.
amazing, amazing.
It does. Um, we'll have to like take a look at that trailer next time. But
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that the stunt team from those movies and like the stunt coordinators aren't going to be back for Deadpool 3. So we could still get the same level of action. We'll just get, a different comedic approach to this movie. And it's a director that's now worked with Reynolds twice.
yeah, I think it'll be great. Again, they're hitting on all cylinders right now. Um, I don't know what else they can do better. Again, it's gonna be a different realm, but also you still have Ryan Reynolds playing that Deadpool role. Everybody knows what to expect from him. They know what they want to see. I'm pretty sure he knows what he wants to do and what he's gonna do. So almost no matter who's gonna be directing it, he's going to stick out and do what he does in that role because that is what he's basically known for now. I mean, after so many years, Deadpool might be his iconic role right there. Uh,
Yeah.
but moving on into more superhero news, this is a little bit older now. However, if you guys don't remember, during the Super Bowl, DC dropped a trailer. This trailer showed the DCU, all the movies coming out this year, and it was fantastic. It got me hyped for the movies, and it was like the first time in my memory that I can see that somebody dropped a trailer for an entire universe. It wasn't just like, a movie. It was a series
Yeah.
of movies and they meshed it into one trailer. And like that's the built up and the excitement that I love to see. However, recently they decided that a lot of these movies are going to get pushed back, some of them into the next year, which is highly disappointing.
Yeah. As of now, looking at that trailer, the only movie that met their release date is the Batman, um, which we talked about previously. But from what I've seen, the reason we're getting the delay is still because of the pandemic, the workload that's needed for special effects and on the special effects departments. And that's part of the reason we're getting that delay. Black Adam is still releasing this year. It's been pushed back to October.
But
Aquaman was pushed back into next year,
as is Flash.
as is The Flash. I'm hearing other reasons for the Flash delay. I'm hearing that there's a ton of rewrites still happening on that movie. I just heard that they're looking at writing in Superman again, Henry Cavill. So I'm not sure where that movie's going, and I think
Yeah,
there's other reasons for that delay. And then we had Shazam actually get moved up to
moved
come out
up.
this year.
Yeah, and moved up at a possibly terrible time. Maybe it's DC wanting to compete or Warner Brothers wanting to compete with Disney, but you told me that that is the same opening weekend as Avatar 2, a movie that has been in the making for over a decade now.
Yeah, I think it's a really bold move from Warner Brothers and risky. I think there's a lot to say about Avatar 2. I don't know how it's going to perform. Again, it's a movie that's been in development for, a decade. How much hype is there around that movie? As of right now, I'd say not as much. But what happens when a trailer drops and all of a sudden people are like, want to go back to the world of Pandora?
Well, I
That
think
movie did well
it not only well, that was the number one selling movie. And
of
I
all time. Yeah.
yeah, does it still hold that record?
It does hold the record. It's
It's
number one.
I know there's been a couple MCU films that have gotten close. Nothing other than really MCU that's gotten close to it, but that holds the record for highest grossing film in history. So I couldn't see. I mean, even if it's not going to hit the same numbers as the first one did, which I don't think it will, because that was mostly revered for its special effects. We have way like new different types of special effects now, especially again as we got to superhero flicks, action flicks have gotten onto a whole new level that they haven't been before. Um, but the fan base is still there. Within a decade, I mean, I was so young when Avatar came out. I still remember it. People younger than me probably still remember that movie, and people older than me were amazed by that movie because they never seen anything like it. So the fan base is still going to be there once it drops. I don't think it's going to do the same numbers, but I definitely think it's going to do
Well,
better than Shazam too.
100%. I think the other thing is you're also welcoming in a new generation into this world because it's been a decade. You're getting kids now that are growing up and they're like, "Oh, wait, what was Avatar?" And Avatar still holds up. The
Oh,
special
for
effects
sure.
still hold up, and the original and James Cameron is a fantastic director. So I have no doubt it's going to be a great movie.
Yeah,
I don't know how Shazam's going to fare going up against.
I don't think so. I don't think it will. I mean, did Shazam
If you
have a
ask,
theatrical release?
it's yeah,
A
yep.
small one though, because that was bad times for movies, I believe.
I know for myself when it comes to opening weekend and buying tickets, I'm going to see Avatar first.
Yeah, I'm seeing Avatar over Shazam. If they were going to put a movie up against Avatar, I wouldn't have picked Shazam. Um, I mean, out of all of them, I mean, you have The Rock and Black Adam. I know the movie isn't ready, but let's just say that all these movies were ready. You have The Rock, the biggest blockbuster star to date right now. You could have used him to go against Avatar. You could have used the biggest movie that you guys have ever put out in The Flash, the thing that is universe changing. That is going to have all your fans going to see it. You could have used that. You could have, I mean, I did not want the Batman pushed back anymore, but Batman, the biggest hero that you guys have on your entire brand, you could have used him. Honestly, with the success of Aquaman or like Wonder Woman, if they had, well, Aquaman does have a movie coming out soon, but if you use them, even them, they're heavy hitters, but you're using almost a no name for a movie that was, for the first one, was good, not great. So like I'm not too hyped for its sequel. So I don't really know what anybody else would be, especially if they were going to put it over Avatar, like the highest grossing movie of all time.
It's going to be we'll see if they end up keeping that release date if it doesn't get changed again to
Yeah.
not have to compete with.
I mean, I hope they do great. I mean, we're DC fans. We know DC cinematically doesn't always do the best things, especially since they've been in competition with Marvel. Um, but I want them to see them get their universe on track. Uh, right now, it's just a mess. But for someone that does have it on track, Marvel has been putting out a lot of content, a lot of trailers, a lot of things are coming from them as of recent. I know soon. Oh God, I think it's next week actually. We have Moon Knight coming
We're
out.
getting Moon Knight.
We are getting Moon Knight onto Disney Plus, and the Netflix shows. The Marvel Netflix shows were brought onto Disney Plus about a week ago, which is big news because now when you go on Disney Plus, it asks you if you want the family version or not, which basically means that when we get Moon Knight, we are getting maybe not exactly R-rated, but at least close to R-rated content on Disney Plus, which is a big stepping stone for them. And the fact that they put those shows on there, and Moon Knight, if anybody knows who Moon Knight is from the comic books, that is one of the goriest, out there, psychological thriller kind of characters in Marvel's wheelhouse. So giving him a show and putting it on Disney Plus is a actually huge deal for their brand. And it's definitely going to lead into bigger things once they start putting out Deadpool 3 and such, because the success of this is probably going to determine a lot of what they do in the future.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much darker show than we're seeing, especially in comparison to the show we're getting after Moon Knight, which has officially been announced as Miss Marvel.
Yes, yes. Miss Marvel is going to be coming out, and they recently just dropped the trailer. I know you already have that loaded up. For those of you who will be watching the podcast, you can watch this trailer with us. For those of you guys that are just going to be listening, we will be watching it. We'll skip past it so that you guys can just hear us talk about it. But if you haven't seen the trailer, you can watch it with us right now. And that already looks amazing to me. I mean, obviously it's just a trailer, but I mean, all the colors that they have going around. For those of you that don't know who she is, I think it explains it very well that she's a comic book fan. She is a fan of the heroes that are already existing in her universe. So the approach that they're taking by using all of the comic book, fonts and speech bubbles and bringing in all those bright colors and everything, I think is a great take to use her. And I don't think it'll disappoint.
I really hope that that's not just in the trailer. I really hope that it's something they're keeping for the show itself. Um, like you said, she is a huge fangirl. She's loves the Avengers. She's followed them, and it seems like they really captured that, and just the awkwardness too of her character, which I love. She's going through puberty. It's a coming of age story, um, and they seem to have captured that. I really hope they're keeping all of those little, like, the clicks of the pen and all that stuff in the actual show. And even that last scene of her sitting on the lamppost, that's like pulled directly from the comic.
Yeah, and I hope with her acting, I hope she kind of gives us the same energy that we got from Tom Holland in Civil War and in the first Spider-Man, um, where we're gonna get a very adolescent feel from her that we're going to get because you know Spider-Man did the same thing when he came in. He was fanboying. He was like, oh my god, like I fought Captain America, like, like
Yeah.
so I hope we get a lot of that same energy, but even to an even bigger level because of who the character is, because that's really what she's based around, is that she's a fangirl that got these powers and got to live her dream. So I hope we get to see that energy from her.
One of the things that did bug me initially when I watched the trailer, and I had heard the rumor that they were doing this, and then seeing it just confirms it. They did change her powers in this show. Uh, her powers are more Green Lantern like now, where it's like energy constructs. It seems in a way so they could tie it more into what they're already doing with Captain Marvel, and then also Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, trying to tie her close together because she is going to be in the Marvels movie, the sequel to Miss Captain Marvel. So it seems like they're trying to do that. I also heard a rumor that part of the reason they did is because we're getting a Fantastic Four reboot. They didn't want her to be confused with Mr. Fantastic because of her stretchy and size abilities, which I think is completely absurd because they're clearly not the same character.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have a middle-aged, possibly half evil scientist compared to a high school girl that is a fangirl and just like the
That are
embodiment
from
of
two
innocence.
completely different cultures and everything.
Yeah, I
I'm
also
still gonna
love.
watch the show
Yeah, I
and
mean,
give it a
so am I.
chance, but
I mean, it's not the biggest deal. I mean, it's kind of still staying true to her powers, but it's giving it different light, I guess. It's all about how it's executed. I mean, there's so many things that get changed from comic books to cinema, and you got to pick and choose your battles with it.
That's true. I feel like it takes away some of the, again, it's a coming of age story, and she's a super fangirl, but also like there's that awkwardness of being a teenager, but also then meeting your heroes, like literal heroes. And like that awkwardness comes from like when you go through puberty and like your hands get bigger, like stuff like that awkwardness of her size changing powers and stuff like that, and her stretchy abilities. Now that's kind of gone because it's not real. It's a construct. She can just
Yeah,
turn it off.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like we'll still get scenes and stuff where she can't control her powers when she's in school and she's like trying to hide it
Yeah.
in her pocket or something, and everything. But I'm definitely willing to give the show a chance. I think it looks great. If they keep that same energy that they have in the trailer throughout the entire season of the show, I think they can't go wrong.
Yeah, and using the weekend in the trailer is
Oh,
awesome.
I wanted to dance so bad. I wanted to dance as soon as it came on. It's about to make a TikTok to it. Um, but Marvel isn't the only thing that DC is pushing right now, and they also released a trailer for Obi Wan. For those of you that didn't know, Obi Wan is getting a show, and it looks fantastic. I mean, we're gonna get into it for you guys that are watching. We're gonna watch that one with you as well. The show looks fantastic. If you're a Star Wars fan, a lot of the new projects that they've been doing with shows. I mean, if you watch Mandalorian, it's amazing. So I have high hopes for Obi Wan as well. I just hope this brings Star Wars like to a whole new level with this show, and it'll elevate other things that you've seen from before. So it'll elevate what we saw from the prequels as well from the original trilogy, because it'll give us a lot more substance with it.
Yeah, I I'm super excited. I want to get into it a little bit more, but let's just take our first look at Ewan McGregor returning as Obi Wan. So I don't know if you caught the breathing at the end.
Yeah, it's hard to miss, especially when they put it in most things. But yeah,
Um,
no, definitely hard to miss that breathing, which definitely means we're going to be seeing Vader, which super exciting. Um, and so, for context for this movie, it takes place in between the third movie within the prequels and Rogue One, somewhere within that gap.
yeah,
Uh,
it's years later. Order 66 has already happened. Uh, Luke is a young child at this point. Um, it looks awesome, and knowing that they're bringing back, Ewan McGregor to play Obi Wan, and Hayden Christensen is coming back to play Vader. So
yeah, and I mean, I know Ian McGregor the is a light on the prequels. I know that is a fan favorite casting for a lot of people to this day. I mean, everybody loved him. He did great in fulfilling that role to where every
Obi-Wan
Star Wars
Kenobi.
fan loved him, and freaking even ladies watching Star Wars love seeing him in the role, because no secret, he was a good looking man doing great job in his role, and it was a great idea to bring him back, and I'm glad that they didn't recast it. I'm glad that he's still attached to the series to where he wanted to do it.
Yeah, and I think it works. You can tell he's older now. Not significantly older. He's not old man Kenobi yet. He's not Ben Kenobi, but he's still older. He's aged, and maybe waiting all this time was a good thing, so we wouldn't have to have gotten a third actor playing Obi-Wan for this middle-aged version.
Yeah, for sure. And I have my hopes up for this movie. I know when it comes to the spin-offs, movies and shows, I think they've done a great job with them all around. I think Star Wars really executes on them. When we talk about The Mandalorian, when we're talking about Rogue One, you know, these movies. Oh, and when we're talking about Solo as well, can't forget that one. Even though the theaters kind of forgot it, but when
Yeah.
we're talking about those, there are actually have turned out to be some of my favorite movies from the franchise. Especially as of late, once we get past the original trilogy, I think these movies really kind of take the cake for me. I think they might be the top three on that list after the original trilogy. So again, high hopes, and I think it's honestly they're gonna kill it. I have all faith in them.
Yeah, I think The Mandalorian I really loved. The Book of Boba Fett was good. Not as good as The Mandalorian in my opinion. I have a lot of high hopes for this Obi Wan series though. Um, Nitpicking a little, I wish the Inquisitor design was a little closer to what the Inquisitor actually looked like in the animated series, and also even in the prequels. You know, his head should be more elongated. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's something they've done in the prequels. It's something that George Lucas has done before. I don't know why this design like just wasn't kept. Uh, and I don't think it's enough time for them to go back and fix it. So
yeah. I don't know. Stylistic choices. Everybody has their own things. I don't think it's a make or break for me. Uh, just because he doesn't look how we wanted him to or how he did in the past. Different people take on roles. Different people take on projects. With the series this long, you have a lot of different creative opinions going into it. So you're definitely going to have some of those changes from movie to movie.
yeah, but it looks great, and I did want to share this one picture because he wasn't in the trailer, but Entertainment did get a first look at Vader.
Yeah, and it looks amazing, and I think it'll be great to see this heyday fighting like Luke. I mean, like Anakin Skywalker, Vader that we're gonna have. Obviously, he's been doing it for a little while at this point, but we're gonna have that fresher Vader. Hopefully, we get a lot of content from him, and I hope that we get to see a lot of him. I don't want him to be a protagonist in the shadows for this. I would rather see him be a little more of an on-screen presence.
Yeah, and I think that image, it's the same feeling you get when watching, Rogue One. Vader comes on and he just has this terrifying presence about him,
Oh yeah. Well,
and
I
I
mean,
can't wait
he's
to see that.
one of the best villains ever written in history. Um,
Yeah,
I know you
I
mentioned the
think
Rogue One
also,
scene.
yeah, that I mean, he was on screen for what 10 minutes total that whole movie, and he stole the entire ending was just like, oh, that's Vader, and now that's it. Um, but at this time too, I don't think Obi Wan even knows that Anakin, in his mind, Anakin died.
Could be. Again, I have no idea.
So for him to like, are we gonna get that moment when he finds out that he survived and Palpatine turned him into this, cyborg?
Yeah, I have no idea. Because we haven't seen this before. This is completely original to me. I have no idea what he knows to this point. I don't know where he's been. Um, so I think it'll be really interesting, and that's what I love that Star Wars has been doing when they've been doing these spin-offs is that they're giving substance to the content they already have. We saw it in Rogue One, because when it ends with that hallway fight where Vader comes in and he's slashing through everybody. That's a scene that we already had, but from a different angle. And now we see what led up to that. So that is amazing to me. Again, we got to see Han Solo uh, and what he was doing. So I just love that what they're doing with all of these spin-offs because it makes me love all of the older movies a lot more.
Yeah, part of what I do want to see them do is step away from Skywalker. I want to see Star Wars kind of explore the rest of the galaxy and step away from some of the characters that already exist and we've seen. It's tough with this one because I really do want to see Obi Wan again. I would love to see Vader again, but like after this, I really want to step away from all of the characters that exist. We've had our stories with them. Let's kind of, you know, take a step back, or if we are back in this world, you know, give us new characters that aren't tied to them, like Fallen Order, which picks up right with Order 66. It takes place in this timeline. It's still very much a part of that world, but you're not tied to Luke and Leia and the rest of the main cast.
Yeah, and that was a great project. Um,
It's an
I
awesome
loved
game.
I loved it. I loved it so much. The gameplay was some of the most fun gameplay that I've ever been a part of. I thought it was amazing. I know I have a lot of things to nitpick with Star Wars that I will not get into because what I would like to see for their future and things that it's already too late to go back on after they released the third
The
installment of
sequel
the third
trilogy.
trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of things that I would love to see. Maybe something we can get into on another episode. However, we do have a lot more news to cover today.
I will say too, before we get into the next thing, there's that clip when they're in the underwater base. Um, I think that might be the same underwater base for the Inquisitors from Fallen Order.
Yeah, I think so as well. I definitely think that that's the case. And again, I love that they tie in everything from all different types of media.
And if
What
anybody's seen the Book of Boba Fett, this wouldn't be the first time they've tied in Fallen Order. So
Yeah, I love it that they tie in books, video games, movies, TV shows. I
yeah,
love that they're tying everything in. There's no source of media that is off the table with seeing it. Um, However, in other news, switching over to Netflix, we did get a teaser for the Umbrella Academy. Now, for those of you that have not seen Umbrella Academy, it is a show about, well, I guess they're adults now, but honestly, it's hard to explain the show. However, it is a superhero show with a weird twist on it where it's a family of superhero children, kind of X-Men style, living in a mansion that grown up to all have taken different routes in life, to say the least.
yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's a great show. Highly recommend. You'll see how much that we love this show later, but we're about to get into that teaser. And something that I should have said earlier, for those of you who are listening and want to watch these trailers with us, you can find these clips on our YouTube. You can find the entire podcast on the YouTube to watch us speak, to watch the trailers with us as well, which is Beer and Skittles, DOPC. Same thing as our TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, all of that. So it should be pretty easy to access.
I will say this is also a very quick teaser compared to the rest of the trailers that we
Yeah,
have up.
very, very quick.
Quick.
For those of you that I haven't seen it again, they just might be confused as to, like, why is that even newsworthy? But if you watch the show, you would be very excited to see that season 3 coming soon. And again, just I'm a little confused by what's going on in the trailer as well, which is honestly part of the entire show. There's a lot of twists and turns throughout, so again, it gets me very hyped to see where they're going to go with it next.
I'm excited, especially, Ben is one of my favorite characters from the show, and he's going to have a much bigger role because of all the time travel stuff they did in the last season. Ben's alive. Spoiler alert. Um, but there's a whole new team. They've now come back, and there's a whole the Sparrows. They're completely different people from who was originally picked for
Yes,
the Umbrella
because
Academy.
that they have altered the team. They altered past, which is now altered themselves. Again, there's a lot to get into. I couldn't explain to you everything from the show, but I can just tell you it is worth a watch. And go ahead and watch it. It's for comic book fans. It is for superhero fans. It is for people that aren't, because there's, again, it's a show with a lot of substance to it. It takes a very
And it's
different
really
approach.
funny.
Oh, super funny. It is incredibly funny. Um, Again, so I think it has a little something for everybody. Uh, so definitely worth the watch. So I'm very excited for season 3. So going along
Is
with
the boys
superheroes.
next?
Yes. Going along with superheroes, we have The Boys, which is another crazy take on superheroes, which is a show that streams on Amazon Prime. And they will be coming out with a new season as well.
I will say The Boys is the most different from all the other superhero stuff that's coming out. Um, Fair warning too, before watching this trailer, this show is rated TVMA. This trailer has the same rating. Um,
Yeah,
just disclaimer,
the show itself is not for the faint of heart. If
and
you're
it's not for kids. So
yeah,
that's the warning
definitely
I'm giving.
don't watch it with your kids, and unless they like that, then go ahead.
All right.
Honestly, out of all the trailers, I think that's the one I am the most excited for.
It is an absolutely insane trailer. Um, there's so much going on.
So much.
I love the cast. I mean, it looks like Butcher's getting powers this season. Uh, I, there's so many characters and so many like even just storylines from the last season going forward. Um, that seems like we're carrying on and picking up all the new stuff. Also, Soldier Boy is the new character they're introducing this season, who is that play on Captain America. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going Jensen Ackles for those of you who could not see who is donning that cowl right there. Who, if you guys don't know who that is, he is Dean in Supernatural, one of my favorite shows of all time. And he is amazing in that show, and you don't really see him in too much outside of the show because it ran for 13
15.
15 seasons, 15 seasons at like 21 episodes apiece at hour-long episodes. So he kept himself very busy with that show, which paid off because he has a huge fan base now, and that show has a huge fan base that I'm a part of. But it's gonna be great seeing him don a new role because there's been fan castings with him ever since Supernatural ended. Just people wanting to see him in a lot of other things. So I'm glad that we're getting him here in a gritty superhero show where everything is so messed up, and he's gonna be able to do a lot of the things that he wasn't able to do on Supernatural. And he seems to even be excited about it. So I'm excited for him and to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, even the attitude that he has, like playing Dean, of not taking shit from anybody. That's going to be interesting seeing that like turned up to an 11, especially when you're got a character like Homelander that you're going up against, who at this point for season 3 is just doesn't have a care in the world. If you saw the ending of season 2, there's nothing left in his way to stop him.
Yeah. And I mean, let's also mention he has like the perfect voice as a superhero or supervillain. Just in general,
Jensen
that
Ackles,
voice. Yes, Jensen Ackles. He has
yeah,
just he was born to play some kind of superhero or supervillain role. I mean, just the voice alone, it's intimidating. It's deep. It's there. And I think he's gonna do great. I have no doubt that he's gonna do great. And again, the show that he was on for 15 years was on cable, so now you get to see this gritty character not on cable, on streaming. So he has a lot of freedom and a lot of things that he's gonna do, and a lot of things that he said he's excited for. There's a lot of things he wants to do in Supernatural, which it's a dark, gritty show, but it was on cable. It came out before streaming really was a thing. Um, so now he gets the chance to kind of explore all the things that he wanted from that show for so many years.
yeah. I think it's going to be interesting too. I know one of the storylines they're doing this season, um, the arc in the comics was called Hero Gasm, and every episode of The Boys at some point made my jaw drop. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Couldn't believe they were able to make that, get away with having it on, even though it's streaming. But this is going to be pushed even further, where they're in that story arc. They infiltrate this party that all the heroes go to as a vacation that's marketed as, you know, a big team up with all the heroes saving the world, and in reality, it's one big
Yeah.
event.
Yeah,
Um,
one one big event.
and
Um,
to see, it's going to be an adaptation. Not everything is the same on the show as it was in the comic, so it'll be interesting to see like how they managed to do this and get away with it.
no, definitely going to be adaptation. The show isn't a shot for shot of the comic, which is good and bad. I mean, The Boys is one of my favorite reads. I love it. However, if you think the show is a little much for you, or you're just barely tolerating what it pushes, the comic is a
Read the
lot
comic.
worse. The comic is a lot worse. So I mean, if you're like, I love this, let's take it up a notch, read the comic. You will not be disappointed. It's amazing, and it will become one of your favorite comics so easily. If you're barely tolerating it or you don't like the show, don't try the comic. I'll just tell you that right now. Um, but they have to adapt because they're on screen, but they still do a great job. They still do a great job of keeping those storylines at least kind of true to the source material and pushing the boundaries like they do in the comic itself.
And I appreciate some of the changes they've made. I know if you've read the comics or if you've looked up to see how the comics go, there's a huge plot twist in the comic that I won't give away here. But there is a huge plot twist of that changes everything. But if you already know it, it takes away from that, and I don't know how you can redo that on screen and get the same feeling from people. So with the changes they've made, it still works. It's still the boys.
Yeah. As well as the TV show, they also had came out with a cartoon recently, and they're going to be getting a spinoff. So they're really creating a universe here.
Yeah, and Diabolical, the animated show they just came out with, was really good. All the episodes are short; they're like 15 minutes, and each episode is actually a different art style as well, which was really cool. And the art styles felt like they fit the story that each episode was telling. I mean, that first episode of the show is like like an old silent
Tom and
movie, you
Jerry
know,
type of,
Tom and
yeah.
Jerry, you know, almost like an old Charlie Chaplin, you know, Buster Keaton style comedy. If it's just physical comedy, there's no words, but it works, and it still felt like the boys. You get the episode with Aquafina, which she actually wrote as well.
That was a
Uh,
weird one.
it was super weird, and it fit. It felt like something she would have came up with, and she fit that role. And then you get Aisha Tyler's episode, which was super brutal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, The
and then
Boys
we get
pushes a lot of boundaries. It's great, and I highly suggest watching it on all fronts. The show, read the comics, watch even the cartoon because it's a little less than, cartoon violence is a little easier to watch than live action, but
yeah,
everything.
yeah. My jaw didn't drop as much watching the cartoon. It still felt like the boys, but it wasn't as rough because it's animated. I'm excited for these other spin-off they're doing, which is G-Men, which is the boys' version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
It's gonna focus on these, you know, 18-year-old college kids who are superheroes or they have powers, and they go to a special Vought college specifically for them because they have powers.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
going to
it's
be
gonna be
super interesting
worse.
to see.
I think it's gonna be worse
It's
to
yeah,
watch. I mean,
yeah.
you're talking about. I mean, the boundaries they push with grown men and women, that for the most part have a maturity level to them. When you get them involved with teenagers, it's
Who
just
haven't matured all the way. Yeah,
yeah. I think that they're really gonna push some more boundaries that we might not be ready to see. I'm probably ready to see. Again, I love when shows push boundaries in any form. I love gore. I love all of that. To me, that is a true art form. Uh, but it's. I think it'll be harder to watch. I think it'll definitely be harder to watch.
I
There's gonna be
definitely think so.
a cringe factor, for sure. I think it's gonna remind us a lot of some of Homelander's scenes. Um, once he starts to lose it, I think we're gonna get a lot more things like that, without.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I can't wait to see a trailer for that to see just how far they're pushing it.
Now to we mentioned Diabolical, which is a show that they came out with uh, for the boys, a cartoon series. So we really want to get into what we thought were some of our favorite animated superhero shows of all time. So each of us have made our own top 10 list. We do not know what each other's list is yet, but we're going to compare here and see if the top 10 for either of us looks at all similar, because superhero cartoons have been a thing for a very long time. So there's a
I
lot to dissect here.
I think I mean we grew up watching the same stuff. I think we'll have a lot of similarities here. Um, Number one, I had Teen
Well,
Titans.
we should have started at 10.
Should we go back?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't say yours. We can
No,
go back and
I
start at
thought,
10.
yeah, I think we just go back from number to number.
All
10,
right.
10, 9,
So
9.
at 10, I put TMNT then, the 2012 version
You put the
of Ninja
2012. You put
Turtles
the 2012 version. Okay. I
at
put
10.
at number 10. I put the original, the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja
Really?
Turtles. Yeah. I mean, I think that show is just kind of revolutionary. I mean, to me, back then there isn't another cartoon superhero show that's going to compare to it. And the only reason that it is so low is for reasons you'll see later.
I'm interested to see how many Ninja Turtle cartoons you have on your top 10 list.
Only two, only two. But the only reason that the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is 10 and not higher on the list is really just because there's one that I think is better. There's another show. There's another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I think is better. So that's the only reason why it's so low.
All right. At 9, I had Young Justice.
You had Young Justice at 9. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I had Static Shock.
I'm not mad at that.
I
Static did not make my list.
see it
I will
kind of
say that
edged in
now.
for me. It's only I remember loving it as a kid. I mean, it was like one of the shows that I got excited when it came on. It was a fantastic show to me. I haven't revisited it in a while, so I don't know how much it holds up, which is why it's 9. But just because of the nostalgia I have for it, I think it deserves to be on my list.
8, I have Spider-Man 94.
Okay,
The
you're gonna.
90s Spider-Man.
I had Batman Beyond at my number 8 spot.
Batman Beyond was also a really good show.
Great show. I love the take that they had on it. I even love the movie that they came out for Batman Beyond. And I honestly, I love the character of Batman Beyond. I loved Terry McGinnis. I hope to see more of him in other forms of media. Maybe another show with him. Maybe I can get a live action with him. I think it'd be great. I think his story's great, and I love seeing the future Gotham. So
If this was a few years back, bringing back Adam West and doing a Batman Beyond live action would have been perfect.
I wish. I really wish. I always want. You guys will see. I love Adam West Batman. One of my favorites as a kid. I used to have all the DVDs for his old show, in the movie, and I would just play it on long car rides. In the minivan with the little screen. So it's fan favorite of mine. So
7, I put Harley Quinn.
there's our agreement right there. I put the Harley Quinn show in at 7, which I think will be a controversial pick for anybody that's watching. It's newer. It is comedy, very focused on comedy, adult comedy nonetheless.
Yes.
But I think that's what makes it so great. It's different. We haven't seen really another show like it. I love it. I think it's hilarious, and it doesn't shy away from substance either. There's episodes that tackle real storylines from comics and stuff like that, and I think it's great.
I think it takes a comedic approach to all of it. I love seeing all of Batman's rogues gallery in the background. They're all still there playing a part. It's very much part of taking place within Gotham. And then you get one of my favorite Robins, probably my favorite Robin, Damian, in this show.
Such a brat in that show.
He's such a brat, and it's awesome.
America's sweetheart. It's like apple pie.
I highly recommend it. I highly recommend watching the Harley Quinn show. Um, so at 6, I put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003.
So you put 2003 at number 6. Okay. I had X-Men 1992,
The animated series.
the animated
Yeah.
series. For those of you guys that don't know, that is the X-Men series where Rogue actually looks good. And all the characters look pretty actually accurate. Like
Yeah.
almost completely right out of comics is all of their costumes. So
It's also the X-Men series that's getting a sequel on Disney Plus.
yeah, and I am so excited for it. Um, the cartoon was a little bit before my time, but it even held up when I was a kid, and I think watching it now, it still holds up.
I think it still holds up now. At where were we? 5?
Yeah,
Batman, the animated series.
another agreement right there. Batman the animated series, I think is
So we can agree on DC.
yeah. Basically, we can only agree. Well, actually, I think I have more DC in here than you. I definitely have more DC in here than you. But no, Batman the animated series, that was the cartoon for me as a kid for superheroes. That's probably really what kind of got me more into comic books right there was that show. So I have a soft spot for it.
It's also our first look at Harley Quinn.
Yeah, which she is got at least top 5 most known characters that DC's put out, and she got started in a cartoon as a
And
side
Mr. Freeze.
character. Yeah, yeah. So I mean that cartoon did a lot. It had a huge impact, and it's given us great characters, which is weird to say that a character from a cartoon got adapted into the comics because of how popular they were.
You
But it
also
was
can't
great.
take away the voice acting. It's Conroy and it's Hamill. Like Kevin
Yeah,
Conroy and Mark Hamill carry.
Mark Hamill is the Joker. I don't care. I mean, I love. There's a lot of great Joker performances. So I'm sorry to even Heath Ledger. Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Is the Joker.
He
Yeah.
is the Joker. It's the most accurate version of Joker we've ever seen, and he does a fantastic job. The voice alone is just, it's there. It's perfect.
At number 4, I put X-Men, the animated series.
Okay. I number 4, I have Invincible.
Okay.
I know you probably have it higher than I do. I know it's on your list because I know you love the show. But it's great. It's amazing. It's one of those shows where it's a whole new take. I think it's gonna be revolutionary for what it does, but I haven't seen it age yet. So it can't be number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if as I got more seasons and more time goes on that it will be number 1 because it's great. Steven Yeun in that show is amazing.
I mean, and J.K. Simmons as well. I mean,
yeah,
it looks like him. The Invincible was number 3 for me, so I absolutely love that show. It's, if you like The Boys, you'll like Invincible. It's animated, like Harley Quinn. It's not for kids, like at all. They're also hour-long episodes, so there's a lot of story packed into just that one season that we've gotten.
Yeah, they do a great job of moving the story along there. Fantastic.
It's
Again,
brutal.
Yeah, not for kids, but it's a great cartoon, and I love that they're doing that with cartoons now. Again, we got The Boys Diabolical. We're getting this. We got the Harley Quinn show. They're taking superheroes into a whole new light, and they're even making them animated, which is great because everybody thinks animation, kids, whatever. But we're adults. We still love animation. I think people are starting to realize that even adults still love animation to this day. So I'm glad that they're adjusting it to fit what we would like now more as adults as well. But at number 3, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003.
Okay.
That was an iconic
I can't be
show
mad at
for
that.
me. No, that's an iconic show for me. I think it's the best one.
If this list was strictly based off of intro songs.
Oh, Ninja
It would
Turtles
be
might
number
have
two.
one.
It would be number two for me.
Okay, I think if there's a top five for superhero cartoon intros, or maybe even cartoon intros in general, Ninja Turtles has 3 slots in there. They they are banger after banger on their TV intros. Um,
Yeah.
it's great. I don't know who's writing these theme songs, but I want them to make a theme song for my life.
Um, so at number two, I had the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Okay, you're gonna be mad at me because I don't have any Spider-Man cartoons on here.
That's awful.
Look, I personally think that Marvel doesn't do as great as DC does when it comes to animation. I think that holds up pretty well. And I just don't think that I have had a Spider-Man cartoon be able to compete with my number 2 spot, Young Justice.
That's fair. Young Justice is really good.
I think, you know, because we got Young Justice and everybody, like, when it first was coming out, was going to be like, oh, this is bootleg Teen Titans. I don't want bootleg Teen Titans. I want Teen Titans again. But it was Young Justice was before we got adult cartoons, uh, you know, outside of the world of anime and stuff. Um, and not saying that it is an adult cartoon because obviously it wasn't on an adult network, it wasn't on streaming or anything. It was still geared for children, and it had those moments, but it felt a lot more serious. There was a lot more repercussion to these characters. I was invested in these characters even as a cartoon, and as an adult, it's a cartoon that I wouldn't be ashamed to say that I still watch. Again, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of mature storylines in it, which I love for it. And then, again, I think it's more revolutionary for when it came out. And who knows, maybe some of these shows are because of that. So I think it has an impact.
Number one, I had Teen Titans, which is no surprise since I already spoiled that.
Yeah, I also had Teen Titans as number one. I also had
Which would have been my number one theme song as well.
I mean,
The intro to Teen Titans.
The Teen Titans theme song is great. Uh, I
The
think I still,
intro,
come on, but like, come on, Ninja Turtles 2003.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a
I don't
great
know.
battle. We need a versus battle.
The cartoon
Yeah.
intros.
Yeah, but I think it's undeniable what Teen Titans did. I mean, it captured lightning in a bottle there. To this day, if you ask anybody that was a kid around that time, or maybe even a little older, they'll say Teen Titans was like that. That was my shit. Like I was coming home every day from school watching Teen Titans. It's a show, and I've rewatched it, and it holds up. Um, I think it's on the scale with a lot of other cartoons that are like kind of goaded from that time, like Avatar and such. I think it's on that level, and I think
Yeah.
you can't deny what it did, especially the movie. Ah, the Teen Titans movie.
The Tokyo.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that movie. I'll still watch it to this day. It's great. It sucks that we have a really weird version of Teen Titans now, both live action and animated.
Keeping on the animation trend, it was just announced that Tekken is getting an animated show on Netflix.
Yeah. And they're doing it in the actual style of anime, correct? Not just cartoon.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have that trailer up, which I haven't seen yet. So
I didn't even know that this show was going to be coming out, so I'm very excited. Tekken is like a top 3 for my favorite fighting games. I love Tekken, and I'm glad that they picked it to adapt. I don't think all fighting games have a great story. Not all of them focus a lot on the storyline because they know the action itself is what sells the game. But I think Tekken does, so I'm thinking it'll be great to see it on screen.
it looks good. I don't know how it's going to hold up against, just last year we had Arcane, which was, the League of Legends uh, animated show come out, and that show, story wise and everything, is top tier. So it'll be interesting to see how good the story is in this one. The animation looks good though, and I will say the sound design is really good too,
Yeah, like I
just from
said,
that trailer.
excited. We don't know too much about it other than what we saw there, and we haven't really had a moment to dissect it. But it looks great. I'll definitely be watching it as soon as it comes out. Again, this was a game that I was raised on. Tekken was almost revolutionary, being the fighting game to do 3D fighting, not just a linear back and forth. They're That's like kind of like their staple. They're known for that. They were very different when it came to fighting games, and I think that they have a lot of great characters that I'd love to explore on screen.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So related to anime, uh, Sony, who owns Funimation, had bought Crunchyroll from Warner Brothers last year. The merger happened late last year. We're now finally seeing that happen now, where a ton of Funimation's content is now on Crunchyroll. And I think eventually we're going to see that the Funimation app will probably disappear as all of that content gets pushed over to Crunchyroll.
Yeah, and I mean that's really big news. I don't know how many people that are going to be listening are going to be fans of anime. I know it's a select community, but it is big news for the community. I know we're both fans of anime, and it's slightly annoying having because there's basically two places where you're getting your anime from. It's Funimation and Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll usually gets things a lot faster. They usually get a lot more new animes. They usually get them on a lot easier. However, what they usually lack is they don't get a lot of dubs. Now, I know personally, which I might get prosecuted by anime community, is that I watch in dub. I don't want to read.
100%.
I don't want to read
I've
subtitles the entire time or have a
I've already
language that
told
I
you it's
don't.
bad. It's a
I know.
bad take.
I think it's a popular take. I think the community is pretty 50-50 on it.
No, it's a bad take. It
You
is
watch
not a
you
popular take. It's a
No,
bad take.
you watch in dub too. You watch
I
sub and
watch
dub.
I
You do
watch
both.
selective stuff in dub.
Yes, but I personally watch dub, so I use Funimation a lot more. So it's annoying that I'm not getting my animes as fast. Hopefully, when they merge with Crunchyroll, it'll all be in one place. So a lot of those animes that I'm getting, I'll also get in dub as well. So I think it's a great thing for everybody. This merger. Usually, I think mergers are kind of a bad thing because it's monopolizing a certain area. Um, but I
Yeah.
think in this case, I think it's a great idea, and I'm actually glad to see it happen. There's going to be a bill that's going to disappear off of my credit card, so that's great.
Yeah. I'm happy to have all of the content in one spot.
Yeah, especially because now I always have to look up where can I watch this one. Oh, it's on Funimation. Oh, where
Yeah.
can I watch it? Oh, it's on Crunchyroll. So I always have to go back and forth. It'll be nice to have a hub where I can watch all of my anime in one spot. Um, and
And I'm glad it's
currently,
Crunchyroll because the app is
yeah,
better.
yeah, Funimation doesn't have the cleanest layout. I know there's a lot of times where I'll go in and it'll skip an episode or it won't have me in the right spot of where I left off, and it's not very clean of how to use it. You have to go into your show, start an episode to then go out and see the menu of the episode. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a mess on Funimation. So yeah, I'm glad that Crunchyroll is taking it over as well. Um, but I think it's gonna be a great merger. I think everybody in the anime community is gonna love this merger. For those of you that currently have Funimation, if you haven't seen it, they've been posting it. When you first open the app, that they are offering a 60-day free trial to Crunchyroll, as they are no longer posting new content onto Funimation. All the animes that you love and that you are currently watching are still there, but they will not be posting anything new. Anything new will be posted to Crunchyroll. So they're offering a 60-day free trial. I advise that you take advantage of it, and you start. If you don't have Crunchyroll, get onto it, because eventually Funimation is most likely just going to be gone. So
Yeah.
if you want to keep watching anime, you have to get Crunchyroll.
In other news, it's rumored that God of War is getting a TV series on Amazon Prime. It would be the next big IP that Sony has from a video game that's also getting turned into a series or a movie. We got Uncharted, we're getting Twisted Metal, but we're also getting the Last of Us show. We're getting a Ghost of Tsushima movie. I think God of War being a TV series versus a movie is a much better move. There's a lot of story there to tell. And if it's on Amazon Prime, I have faith that it's going to get a good budget and they're going to kind of let the, filmmakers and showrunners and everyone do what they want and just tell their story.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're doing it into TV. I know I kind of have a running theory where I don't really like video game movies. Not because I don't get excited for them, because there's a lot of video games that I'll see a movie coming out and I'm like, yes, I get to see this because I love the content for it.
Then you
But they,
watch it and just disappointment.
yeah, it usually falls flat. I know we've seen like Resident Evil movies, Assassin's Creed movies. We've seen a lot of movies adapted from video games, and it seems like they always miss the mark. Um, so I think this will be a fun experiment to see maybe video games work as TV. I mean, video games will have possibly hundreds of hours of gameplay um, that you can go into. So when you take that much time and you try to cut it down into 2 hours, you're gonna miss a lot. It's
Or
the
an
same.
hour and a half.
Yeah, or an hour and a half, which is even worse. But so I'm glad that they're making a TV show. God of War, probably like a top three favorite game series for me.
Yeah.
I love God of War. We don't really have too much information on it of where they're going to pick up. For those of you guys that haven't followed God of War, they are currently in Norse mythology. Kratos is a lot older. There's a kid with him. It's a very different story. So we don't know if they're going to pick up there or if they're going to go back to game one and start with Greek and work their way through it. We don't have too much information on it, but I'm stoked for it nonetheless.
And I hope there's a lot of action there and it's needed. It's necessary. There's a ton of action. You got to bring in the right team to tell that action. But I hope they don't look at God of War and say, oh, it's an action story then. It's just John Wick, but Greek mythology. There's a lot of story there, like heartbreaking story.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, Kratos' origin alone is something to weep over. So, yeah, there's a lot to
yeah.
touch on. I hope they execute it well. I hope they execute it really well. And I think casting is going to be really crucial for it. Casting is going to be so crucial for that because I think there's not too many guys that I think could that are the
Play
size.
Kratos.
Yeah, they have to be that size, that build, give me that Kratos vibe, but still be able to pull off the emotions that I get from him in those games. So
Do you want to hear a quick rumor of because there was a statement made by an actor that they are being a part of a video game series that is beloved by fans that they've played, that they love, that's being turned into a project, whether that's a movie or a series, wasn't stated. And then we got this God of War rumor. That statement came from The Rock. And so
uh,
people almost kind of put these two statements that happened for a couple weeks apart from each other together and was like, is this what he was talking about?
it's
And I really
weird.
hope not.
I thought you were about to say Dave Batista, so I was still in that WWE realm.
I
But
still really hope not.
Batista's getting better. Batista's getting better as an actor. I have and we've talked about this earlier. It's something I'll get into for another episode about some of my quarrels with The Rock. But hopefully he never sees this. But yeah. So,
It will
but
hurt you.
it'll be it'll definitely be a blockbuster if he's in it. But I would love to see
Yeah.
maybe more of a maybe even more of an unknown like Kratos.
Yeah.
So, sticking on video game content being adapted, we did get a poster for the new Sonic movie, or an image at least. Um, and I know you're really excited for it. I know you loved um, the Sonic movie. Uh, in
I
your
love the first Sonic movie.
Yeah,
It's so good. But this is a side by side of the new trailer, the new poster they put out, and this is the, original cover art for Sonic 2. It's almost an exact recreation.
yeah,
And
it looks
for me
fantastic.
it just goes to show just how well they're adapting this.
Yeah, I mean it looks fantastic. I know I'm not as big of a fan of the first movie as you have, but the popular opinion is that it was a great movie. And I know there's a lot of people that are excited for the second one. Um, but I think we all agree that Jim Carrey does a great job in the role. Uh, so and he doesn't
He
disappoint
is
usually. So
Robotnik, Dr. Eggman. I mean, look at him.
it's
Um,
it's definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting casting. But he executed. I wasn't sold when they first announced that casting for. Well, I wasn't sold on the movie in general, but I definitely wasn't sold on the casting. At first, because we're like Eggman, Jim Carrey, like that. It doesn't match up like at all. It didn't feel like it. But
all
he
of his like weirdness and quirkiness works. Like,
Yeah, I mean it's rare to say that Jim Carrey really disappoints in a performance anyway. So it might have been wrong for me to doubt him, but
yeah.
yeah, Sonic 2,
And
very
that's coming
excited.
out soon, April 8th. That's right around the corner. The last big thing for today is this. This was just announced today. Um, they're doing a new Witcher game.
Yeah, The Witcher, great series, great game. I love the game, and I know personally, again, I might get crucified for this. I have not seen the series. I heard it's great. There's a big fan base for it. Cavill, great job, from what I've heard. It just all the way around. But just the fact that we're getting another game excites me because I've played the game series a lot and I love the series. So it'll be cool to see. They didn't release anything else with it though, did they? Not no
Just
dates, nothing.
this. Nope, just this. They're actually changing engines as well. They're using Unreal Engine 5 going forward for The Witcher. Um, and it's interesting. I think, The Witcher, it's always been popular. It was originally a book series, turned into a video game, turned into a TV series. Popularity stays. Uh, and I don't know where this will take place as far as timeline goes. I don't know if this is going to be a direct sequel to The Witcher 3 or if this is going to be a prequel and it's going to take us back. This medallion is definitely not the same medallion that we know from the main series. This is not his medallion. This is from the School of the Cat. So
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. They're definitely going to be taking different turns. I mean, with the story, it but they haven't disappointed me before. So no matter what turns they have, I have faith in them. But you guys should stay tuned because as there's going to be a lot more news for dropping for that as time goes on. So stay tuned with us so we can inform you on that. Uh, but that is all the news that we have for you guys today. So thank you for tuning in to the Beer and Skittles podcast. We hope you tune in for episode 3. Thank you guys so much.
thank you.